Ladies and gentlemen, the very first ever Kelly's Chaos matches in the books. Let me ask you a question. Did you really think it would go another way? Did you really think Brandon Collins had a chance to stand up against Alexander Kelly? No. See, what y'all didn't see coming was I created this match, okay? Obviously, I would come to this match prepared. So yes, I did get my hand on some weapons. I brought them to the ring. That's all I needed, okay? Caught some offense at the beginning of the match, okay? But once I started to answer back, Brandon could not. It was over. From the moment I started whooping his ass, I hit him with the hockey stick. And I hit not one, but two glass tubes back to back over his body, shattering them instantly. Then right after that, I told his bitch ass to get the hell up. Soon as he did, bam, BFT, head first, right into the canvas, and he was knocked out. He couldn't continue. Now, Alexander Kelly is a two-time RUW 24/7 champion. If anybody still feels like they have to underestimate me and say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, how much more proof do you need to know that Alexander Kelly is not one to be underestimated? The current WEF United States champion, two-time WEF United States champion. The current RUW 24/7 champion, and funny enough, two-time RUW 24/7 champion. What more do I have to do? Alright, Death Incorporated is on top. Just this past week on RUW Decimation, every single member of Death Incorporated won their championship matches. Started off with Chris Danger. Okay? He gave me a phone call. He said, hey, I want to prove that I belong in Death Incorporated. And what better way for me to do that than to put my Intercontinental Championship on the line against one of the toughest competitors RUW has ever seen, Lucy. And he did just that. And he whooped Lucy's ass. Alright? James Taylor put his Internet Championship on the line against the Madhouse Jackal. James Taylor whooped Jackal's ass. And in the main event, we've already discussed it. I defeated the Spartan Brandon Collins in the first ever Kelly's Chaos match. And I am now a two-time RUW 24/7 champion. However, one thing that I would like to point out. On this week's episode of WEF Strikeout, in the main event, it was a tag team match. Chris Danger and I against the men, Lumberjack and Chris Nitro. Winners become the number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles. Who won that match? Death Incorporated. So, it seems to me that the war between Death Incorporated and the Vampire Brothers will not come to an end. Okay? It's not coming to an end. Matter of fact, I rewatched that episode of WEF Strikeout just to remind myself how damn good Death Incorporated is. Alright? And I couldn't help but to hear that our lovely commentator, Alex Black, said what I just said. The war between the Vampire Brothers and Death Incorporated will not come to an end. Which leads me to this idea. As your general manager of RUW, you know I love to give the people what they want. So here's my idea. On this week's episode of RUW Decimation, Death Incorporated gets their rematch for the World Tag Team titles in the main event. Chris Danger and I will team up to take down Damian Priest and Lucy and get back our rightful World Tag Team Championships. But how do we end this war? That doesn't end the war. The war has just begun. We end the war inside WarGames. The Vampire Brothers, all you like to do is cause problems with Death Incorporated. You like to think you're on top of the mountain. Bitch, you're on the trail at the very fucking bottom of that mountain. Death Incorporated have already made it up to the peak several times over. We've been here. We've done that. Alright? You haven't even gotten started. So if you want to walk around and start a war with Death Incorporated, you get a war inside WarGames. James Taylor, Chris Danger, and I against King Vampire, Damian Priest, and Lucy. Oh, and if for whatever reason you want to do a 4v4 and add another member to your group, we've already made the phone call. So if you step up, so will we. Alexander Kelly, out.